Well, you may have heard a big closure is coming to I-65, and we want to make sure drivers are ready. That's why we have Ed Green with the I-65 Central Corridor Project with me now. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. But before we get to some questions, we want to run through some of the details of this project. So the plan is to fully close I-65 between Jefferson Street and the Watterson Expressway next June and July. Crews will replace 3 bridges that are more than 60 years old and in poor condition. Several streets underneath the interstate will close starting next Wednesday, including South Brook and Kentucky Streets and the intersection of Hill Street and Burnett Avenue. All right, so this is a lot of people think this is a long closure, 2 months for I-65 to be fully closed. Why not just close a few lanes at a time during this project?
Absolutely. And first of all, I appreciate you all having us here. It's important to us to get this information out as early as we can. So having the opportunity to prepare the public for what seems like a very long closure is good for us. And 2 months does seem like a long time, and I don't want to pretend it's not going to be an inconvenience. But in terms of a major project like this, 2 months is relatively short. And by having a 2-month closure, we're going to be able to trim about a year off the total construction time frame for these bridges. So that was important to us, to have that impact limited to that shorter period, and that was a big part in the decision making. The other thing a lot of people ask about of why do we close the interstate during this is about the safety aspect of it. This is a very tight corridor where it's a pretty small footprint and it's elevated. You've got 125,000 cars a day going through it, and you're going to have equipment and construction workers working on these bridges. Getting the traffic away from them is going to be safer for everybody, for the travelers, for the construction workers. So we're going to get in, we're going to get out, and we're not coming back. Right,
and safety is always key during these big projects. You mentioned 125,000 drivers roughly using that stretch every day on I-65. It's about 7 miles. So can we talk about the detour for people who use this route every day and kind of what to expect for them?
Absolutely. So there's a couple things to factor in there. There are about 125,000 cars a day coming through there, and that's through the entire corridor. So the major detour that is going to be proposed really for the traffic that's going through the corridor that comes in from the north and goes out through the south, that's going to go along I-64 west and then around the western edge of Louisville on the Shawnee Expressway and I-264. So those through travelers are going to use that. That stretch right now accommodates less than 60,000 cars a day, so it has the most capacity in the system to accommodate that traffic flow. The other thing that is remaining open, and it's important for especially our downtown travelers, is that Jefferson Street ramp from I-65 south. That'll remain open so travelers can still get into downtown, and then the ramp at Muhammad Ali and Liberty Street that takes you out of downtown to the north, that'll remain open as well. So a lot of that traffic will be able to get in and out.
And I do have one final question real quick because we don't have a lot of time here. People might be wondering, is it safe to drive right now if you're saying those bridges are in poor condition? Or is it okay to drive on those stretches of I-65 up until next year?
Sure, and I can't say this strongly enough. The bridges are safe in their current condition. When you hear words and terminology like poor, it sounds like, oh, this is something that could seem scary. Most bridges are inspected every 2 years. These bridges are being thoroughly inspected every 3 months to ensure that safety and make sure that they are safe and sound for travelers. If anything happened from those inspections that they needed to be sort of strengthened, that would happen before anything else would happen. So they are safe to drive on, but it's time to replace them.
All right, Ed, thank you so much for your insight on this issue.
Thank you.